Here we go.
Boom.
Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying.
The only podcast to celebrate the work of actors in understudy roles.
Understudying demands tons of preparation with minimal rehearsal.
Or sometimes none at all.
But it can end in triumphant glory.
In these conversations, we will amplify the diverse voices of actors who have understudied. We want to hear about the actor's technique, experience, and journey.
As well as whatever's on our mind that day.
Hi, welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying. I'm Scott Sava. You might know me from a one-night-only performance of The Dress, produced by Nothing Special Productions at the Abby Hoffman Died for Our Sins Festival at Mariachi Theatre Company in 2013, 11, something like that.
And I'm Elana Elise. You might know me from The Spin, which was the first full digital production we did with Interrobang back in when we did it during the pandemic.
Yeah. Our guest today is Kim Fukawa. You might know Kim from Mad Vampires, another Nothing Special production done at the Abby Hoffman Died for Our Sins Festival. That one was at the Den in 2012, which I was also in. Welcome, Kim, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. God, that was a long time ago.
Wasn't it? That's 10 years ago now.
What a trip.
So, Kim, we kick off every episode with the same question. It's, what was your first understudy gig?
My first understudy gig was a character named Miyoko in a show called Days of Late with the Sinnerman Ensemble. I don't know that they're still extant, but I was pretty brand new, and it was it was something that I'd never even tried before, and I was like, yes, I'll understudy without knowing what that entailed. It was a learning experience. I was not given a lot of they don't prepare you for it in college or anything. They don't tell you how to do an understudy role. So it was just a lot of me sitting there going, should I be here? Should I not? I don't know what to do. And luckily I never really had to go on, so I wouldn't have to face that for a while, but it was something.
Yeah. Did you feel like you could have gone on if you had to?
If I had to, yeah, I think I was prepared. It was a kind of a weird play, so I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to feel about it, but if I had to, I could have gone.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was your role in the play?
Her name is Miyoko. She was a very kind of cold, very kind of haughty, almost character. She ran an art gallery, I believe, if memory serves. And she gets really angry at a guy for making her feel feelings. Basically.
Wow. That sounds fun. I wonder, well, first, you know what, that being your first and it being this completely foreign kind of experience, what was your next gig? And then I'll ask the follow-up.
So, the next one, I had by then joined Babes with Blades Theater Company. Mm-hmm. And my next understudy gig was for Romeo and Juliet. And it was all female. And there was one understudy.
You?
And just me. It was me by my lonesome. I was understudying Abram, Mercutio, Paris, Benvolio, and Tybalt.
Ooh. So you went from, what? I'm so glad I don't have to go on as Miyoko to I have to be ready to perform 5 Shakespearean characters. And with Babes, then you guys had, there was
fighting.
Physical stuff.
I learned all the fights, sometimes both sides of the fights, and one of the characters was left-handed, and the fight was made for a left-handed person, so I just learned it left-handed.
Of course you did. With ease, even, because you're fucking Kim
It was
Fukawa.
rapier dagger. Both hands were being used anyway. It was fine.
Wow. So, like, talk about, like, just more about that overall experience. And, like, I'm familiar with babes. I don't know how they treat understudies, right? Like, did you feel supported and guided and given the amount of attention that you needed to understudy and execute 5 roles?
At the time, honestly, I think there was so much else going on that there wasn't as much attention paid, and I think that they trusted me enough to kind of let me do my own thing. Sometimes, honestly, sometimes it felt like I was sitting there like videoing some stuff just for later, and like the director would look at me like, what are you? And I was like, is this wrong? Am I doing I don't well, I'm gonna do it because I need this for later.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't really know much at that point either. Looking back on it, I think since then we've gotten better with understudies and been more supportive as, we kind of figured things out. It was a big undertaking, understandably, but I actually felt okay about it. I never had to go on again, but I spent a lot of time talking to myself.
When you brought up your first understudy gig and that feeling of like, should I be here? Am I, am I welcome? I think a lot of people who have understudied, particularly in like non-equity theater, have felt that. And you probably didn't feel that way with Babes with Blades. Had you already worked with them at that point?
Yeah, I had been in their Mackers. That was my first one with them, and then the next one was Romeo and Juliet. So I was a little bit more comfortable. I was still pretty young though, so it was like I was just excited to be in the room and to be asked to do something. In retrospect, I probably should not have said yes to 5 different Shakespearean roles.
Yeah, that's a lot. We have that, we came up with that, pay your dues, and this, if they see me, they think I can do this. Let me prove that I can do this, and that drives a lot of our not only our youth in the career, but also the time, right? Like, we're only just as an industry in recent years starting to understand how messed up our approach to this craft has been for so long, so there's so many, even the idea that, you understudy to get your foot in the door, which may or may not be true, but like having that idea, like, I need to do this first, especially at the larger houses, like that has to be your first step. Many people think that. Overall, and I know you were understudying a show I was in. So overall, like, how many times have you understudied?
Let me look at the resume I have right next to me, because otherwise I won't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Wow. 8 times, actually.
8.
And were they? Is that how many shows you did, or is that the number of tracks?
Oh no, that's how many shows.
Yeah, we are.
There are more tracks than that.
Tracks. For 2 shows, we're at 6 tracks. So.
Right. No, it was 1 track, then the 5 different characters. There was another one where I was 3 different tracks, but that was a total of like 14 different characters, some with lines, some without. So it's varied.
What show was that?
The 14 characters, that was Chimerica at what was it? Timeline Theater. And I was hired to understudy 3 different characters, or 3 different people, and the age ranged from 18 to 59. So I was like, oh, well, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have to go on at all for Chimerica?
I did. I went on for 2 of the tracks.
Wow.
The 3rd one, it was fine, but 2 of them I did have to play with. Actually, the one that I didn't have to go on for was like my least favorite. So I'm kind of glad I didn't have to go in for that, just because, spoiler alert for Chimerica, there's this kind of ghost character, and she kind of at certain points pops out of a mini fridge, you know? Like, he opens a little mini fridge, and there she is, sitting inside the mini fridge. It's like, oh, well, oh, hi. And the two of the girls I was understudying were about a foot shorter than me. And they built that mini fridge, and we came in, and we were looking at it, and she was standing next to me, and she's like, I don't know if I can fit in there. And I was like, oh, you're worried?
Did they ever have a refrigerator fitting for you? Did they?
When I went in,
fitting?
Yes, they had like a trunk, like a steamer trunk, and they're like, this is about the size, so I know it's kind of weird, but could you just sit in the trunk? I was like, yeah, okay.
Wow.
And I just sort of folded myself in the trunk, like, good?
Yeah.
Yes? And they're like, okay, thanks, that's great, thank you so much. I was like, all right, bye.
That's hilarious.
It's a weird fitting. Yes, it was a little odd.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you find getting the opportunity to go on rewarding or nerve-wracking?
A little of both. It's exciting to get to use all of that knowledge that you've spent so long trying to cram into your head, but then there's so much pressure to not screw it up for everyone else and to be as true to that character and that vision as the regular overstudy is. So it's a lot, but I really do like going on. I really do like being able to do it.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to get to do it for a lot of my understudy roles, actually.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Are there any roles where you maybe didn't have a guaranteed performance and you found out like the day of, or?
Yeah. So at one point, I wouldn't recommend doing this. I was understudying 2 separate shows at the same time. And the second show knew about the first show, and I was like, look, I will understudy. However, this show takes precedence, and if they need me, like, I know I'm going to go on for that show, so that's kind of where my focus is. And they're like, no, that's fine. We trust you. We know you can do this, so just, that's totally cool. And I was having drinks with a friend on a Thursday night, and I was like, yeah, like, I'm getting ready to understudy for this show, and it's going to be great. I get to go on. And then this other one, and we were in the run at this point. And I was like, the other one, they'll never need me. Those ladies are so solid and so great. And then I get a call, and it's like, stage manager. And I was like, no, don't do this to me.
Oh, God.
Karma, why? And I pick it up, and she's like, hey, one of the girls threw out her back, and she doesn't think she can do the show tomorrow, so we need you in. And I was like, oh, no. So I was a little tipsy, and I was like, you'll never guess who that was. Oh my god. And so I took off work the next day to like really drill through my lines for that show, because I hadn't seen it in the space. I wasn't able to be there for tech because we were doing the other show at the time. The last time I had seen it was a month before in the rehearsal room. That's the last time I saw a full run.
Oh my goodness.
And it was open caption weekend. So,
So how'd you do?
Oh God, wait. So just so the open caption means that the audience could see all of the words that you should have been saying, right? Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah.
So how'd you do?
I actually did okay. I was really happy that this particular track was for a role where the person is pretending to be someone else. They're pretending to be this Prussian sword master. And so they make up words, and a lot of the lines are just klumpty klump and something like that. And so I could just be like, klumpty klump. I think that's the right nonsense for this part. Pretty sure. and it's not the actual one where I would have had to learn the Prussian. So, you know, silver linings.
Yeah, how did the blocking go for that one?
It went okay. I absorbed as much as I could, and luckily, like, I had, before this point, I had learned all of the fights that I'd had to do. So those at least were solid. I was very, very comfortable doing all of the fights. It was just all the other stuff around them that I was a little bit shaky on, but that Friday I'd gone through all of my lines. I got to the theater early. The other actors were kind enough to like come in and sort of push me around and say, this is where you enter and this is where we go and all of that. And I had some idea just from that month ago run through that I had seen. So it could have been worse. It could have been better. But I think I did okay.
I have two questions. They're not related. I'm going to try to spread them apart. But given the amount of times you have and the amount of tracks, do you find that you created any sort of specific approach to understudy and like how you go about that part of the work?
Oh, it's hard to say. I think first off, I just try to drill in the lines. And luckily for me, my memory is really good for lines, so I can learn things pretty quickly. And then once those are in, then I can kind of watch and see what this role is and kind of put it into context and put it in as a whole. And a lot of the time it's just, trying to see what the overstudy is doing and how they're playing it, because of course they've had the time with the director, and just trying to stay true to that while also knowing that I can't just parrot it. It's just so hard. Because wouldn't that be easy if I could just be like, I'm going to do exactly what you did and reach the exact same emotional hits that you do somehow. Wouldn't that be fun? But, yeah, a lot of the time it starts with just getting the lines down, and then I can worry about the rest of it around it.
Then this isn't the original second question. This one is tied to that. Is there stuff that you feel like you've learned specifically via understudying that you use when you are an overstudy? Is there anything that like clicks directly from understudying?
I think in a way it's kind of being more present and listening, because that's so important as an understudy. And sometimes when you get into a track and you've done this night after night after night and you start to get a little complacent and start to just kind of go on that autopilot, it's like, okay, but then you can't do that because that's not a good actor thing. So it's kind of, remembering that sort of shot of adrenaline and that kind of excitement and a little bit of anxiety from that night that you actually have to go on as an understudy, and kind of trying to bring some of that energy to the actual performance, even though you may have been doing this every night for a couple of weeks now and starting to get a little tired.
I love that.
Yes. So I noticed twice you mentioned, people people either saying that they trust you or you feeling trusted with the work, right? And I'm curious about if there has, from the times that you were hearing that to now with, a maturity and growth in our industry, do you feel like that is for sure flattering? Versus any possibility that that's a way to provide you a kind of superficial comfort for what you're being asked to do. Do you know the distinction, Amy?
Yeah, I get that. I think it is flattering. I think I can safely say a lot of us. I have a dose of imposter syndrome that I deal with all the time. So, hearing that from people always feels good. And as much as I'm afraid that someday people are going to find out that I'm not very good at this and that I'm actually just very lazy and I'm not actually good at this, there's a reason that, I keep getting called into rooms, and I have to just remember that and just kind of trust that when people tell me the nice things, that they are real things and they're not just trying to placate me because I might not have been hired for that principal role. I get the understudy, but, it's still something that not everyone can do, and it's still something that you have to give to someone that you do have that amount of trust in, that they won't have that same process, they won't have the time, but they'll still be able to perform the work and perform it well enough that, audiences won't be upset, I guess.
Yeah. Is there a understudy gig that you had that you felt went the best? Was just the best overall experience?
I think the process that I really enjoyed that I didn't get to go on for, I think, was United Flight 232, honestly, which is where we work together, Alana, because that show was so impactful, and it was, even though I didn't ever get to perform in it, it was a really great process, and it was so amazing to be part of that show and just to be able to watch it, and I just loved it so much. As far as for shows that I had to go on for, Kentucky at the Gift was a lot of fun. That group of people, they were so kind and so just made me feel very included. And I was, lucky enough to go in for this week-long extension. And they were just the nicest folks, and everyone wanted to make sure that I was doing okay and that, I was supported, and we all went out for roast duck. It was just a really, really nice experience.
Nice. Did you notice, because I imagine if you went on for a weekend, you had maybe 4 shows?
Something like that. I can't remember exactly how many. I think I went on for one before that, but then when it got extended, the original actor had another gig, so she had to leave. I don't remember exactly how many it was, though.
Do you recall feeling? I guess anybody would feel better on the second or third time they get to run a track. But was there anything significant that you were able to find in the subsequent nights or shows that you were able to perform in?
Yeah, I think it's repetition helps. So that first time there's so many nerves that you're just really, really focused on doing it right. And then the second, third time, you can kind of relax into it a little, knowing, okay, I can get through this. I can do the job. Now I can really maybe not be quite as uptight. And I can maybe try to listen a little bit more instead of panicking about where I'm supposed to be next, So there is that amount of getting comfortable as you keep going.
Yeah. Speaking of that, have you done internal understudying?
No, actually, never had to do that yet.
Would you? You think you would be open to that?
Yeah, I probably would be. If I already know the show, I don't know that it would be, having not done it, I don't know that it would be harder than a regular understudy gig, and at least I just still get to perform.
That is true.
So, I mean, internal understudies, that causes their own form of chaos. So it's
Yes.
Ooh, I've heard stories.
I fear that.
Yeah.
To the extent that I won't do it. Like I
Fair enough.
One of the greatest things about having you in the United Flight Room was you. Just like Scott asked me before we started if you had gone on. I couldn't remember, but I remember you throughout that whole process. Like every time you were there, the energy you bring, like in all your quiet sort of solitude, and just like making shit, like just all the shit. Like Kim is just making the shit. What is that? Oh, well, you're crocheting a, I don't know, castle? That's amazing. Like just I feel like I think you made a cake. I feel like you made a cat of nine tails. Like, I don't know, you baked some shit. Like, I don't, like, seriously, it was just like this fountain of just amazingness coming out of this little, like, quiet person over there. And I delighted in it every day. I didn't have any reason to keep on saying stuff to you about it every day, because that would get weird. But every time you were there, I'd be like, oh my God, this is so delightful. What is she doing? Like, which is, you know, how you got the call about the sign that's in my bathroom. You know, like I didn't even think. I was like, I'll bet I know who could do this for me. Listeners, yep. I have a cross stitch. Would you call is it cross stitch?
Yeah, it's a cross stitch basically.
Okay, a needlepoint cross stitch sign in my bathroom that I commissioned him to create for me that says, "Please close the lid before you flush." And we matched my shower curtain, and it's framed, and it sits on the wall above my toilet. And I wouldn't have imagined asking anyone else to do that. But it's really, really great. So I just wanted to shout out your just like very broad talent in so many arenas, because it's like, you know, it's a level, it's for, in my observation, in my opinion, it's levels above like crafts, right? Like what you do, and I don't know where this comes from, I don't know how you got all these skills and talent, but like it's so far beyond crafts. This is amazing, and it's always something just you do so fast. And I don't know. Welcome to the Kim show, y'all, because here I go, right? Like, I don't know. There isn't a lot more to say about it. It's just incredible. And if you don't know Kim Fukawa, find her on the internet and look at stuff that she's made.
Yeah. Do you have like an Etsy or anything like that? Or
No. See, the thing is, I make a lot of things out of boredom, or just because I've seen something on the internet and I'm like, I want to make something like that. I'm gonna do that, and then I go make like one or two, and then I get tired of it. So I've never had enough stuff to put in an Etsy shop. And besides that, Etsy nickels and dimes you in a huge way. Sure. So if I do sell anything, it tends to be to my Facebook friends. And then I just like, PayPal me. We'll figure out how to get it to you. Just like Alana did. Just like, hey, can you make me this thing? I was like, yeah, I'll chart something out for you. You can approve it. We'll move on from there. I'll choose some colors. And yeah, it's just one of those things that I get bored easily. I think maybe I have a little undiagnosed ADD. I like to be doing something with my hands. So
that's good. I just bite my nails, so
I literally can't. I used to bite my nails, but my front teeth don't touch anymore, so I literally cannot bite my nails.
Oh, that's
one way to stop.
I used to bite mine, and then I stopped because I wanted nails. But y'all, when I get a hangnail, it is game time. Like, I get so excited about being able to, but it's never become a habit again. But as soon as it's raggedy, I can trim my nails with my teeth, actually. Like, I can, like, if I really want to, I focus up, that'll be nice to look like I use tools. I can do that with my teeth if I take the time.
You gotta put that on your resume.
Special skills. Teeth manicure.
Seriously.
Make sure you say that it's your own teeth and not other people's
Yeah.
nails.
And right, I was like, my teeth, my nails.
I will not bite your nails off. I will not.
That would be awful. No, I think that's great, and I think getting bored easily is perfectly fine based on what I've seen you do with your boredom. Like I don't think it's stuff. Like it's not ADD probably. It's just you have a talent and you have moments sometimes and they just burst right out of you, and it is delightful.
I'm sitting next to a 4-foot tall stuffed Totoro that I made because I wanted one. I saw something online. I was like, yeah, I can make that. Made that. Right now I'm really into wire wrapping. So I've got these little like elf ear things and like little pendants that I'm making. I've fallen down a dangerous YouTube hole.
That's incredible. Meanwhile, I've been crocheting a blanket for over a year, swear on everything. It's just like it's been taking me so long.
Blankets take forever. I have a mandala blanket that I took a huge break, so it was like 3 years.
Yeah, and I didn't do like a regular stitch that we make blankets and it's not square, so it's like long because I wanted it to be like the shape of a bed, you know what I mean, like a sheet, whatever. So and then it's like just double stitch, right? So like when you do like the granny stitch or whatever, like it's bigger, faster. I might as well be doing single stitch crochet. Like it's
that's gonna take a minute.
Insane, but okay. Listeners,
but you can find my crafts. I have a specific. When the pandemic started, I started making things because I there's nothing else to do, and so I made an Instagram called Pandemic Crafts. So that is on there, and then all the stuff I make that has been since we went into quarantine. That's all on there.
Say it again. Pandemic Crafts.
Yep, Pandemic Crafts.
Oh.
Okay, I thought you said crap at first.
Nope.
You must have come in early to get that that tag.
Yeah.
Just to get back to theater a little bit.
Actual theater.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Instead of my side stuff.
So Kim, you've it sounds like you've understudied at places that were like very small storefront type places, theaters. And you've also understudied at equity houses. Timeline is, and House is equity, or was, or yeah. Sorta, yeah. So, what would you say is the difference that you've found between the two?
I think the equity houses, they can give you more time. I think they have the resources and the spaces to, have more understudy rehearsals. At Timeline, we had weekly understudy rehearsals. And that was so helpful. And we could have the entire set to ourselves and just go through our tracks. And, with the storefront, you're paying for that... for the smaller houses, you're paying for that rehearsal space. You may not have the space available to you, so you don't get to have that option, and it's harder, but what can you do?
Yeah. Have there been any, I don't know, like experiences where you were like, oh, wow, you guys are gonna do this for me? Like, that you were like, I didn't know that understudies could get this perk. Anything like that?
I don't know that there was
or
anything
this
specifically
support.
Like that. I think the first time the overstudy ever came up to me and was like, hey, if you need anything, please ask me. And I am here for you and all of that. For a couple of them, I just didn't have that. And then I think the first time that happened to me, I was like, oh, I don't know what to ask you. Oh, will you be upset if I don't ask you anything? Oh, no. But that kind of goes back to like, what are my responsibilities exactly as an understudy? How do I approach this? What am I supposed to do? They say I can come to any rehearsal, but do they really mean any rehearsal? what if they don't want me there? What if I come in too often? And it's like trying to toe that line of like doing your job and being diligent, and then feeling like you're a nuisance, or you're overstepping.
Yeah.
And figuring out where that line is I found a little bit difficult until you kind of get your feet under you.
Yeah. Do you think the idea of overstepping was something that you sensed from the production, or do you think that was just kind of like your own like feelings about, do I belong here?
I think ultimately it is probably mostly coming from me and my own, like, desire to be a good actor and be a good understudy, and just my overall social anxiety. So I think I hope that there was never a point where a production was not loving what I was doing, and I'm hoping a lot of it was just coming from my own internal feelings.
Yeah. I mean, for Alana, you've directed a bunch. Has there ever been a time where an understudy was there too much?
No.
No, that's not a thing, is it?
It's not a thing. It's not. Yeah, so take that. It's not a thing. You can't be there too much. You gotta learn the show too, in however way you can. And like you mentioned for storefront, like we don't often get the opportunity to have you be in a space during like etc. So being there is really what we can offer until the show opens. Then we are able to have rehearsals, but we're working out some things to figure out how to be better about that, so that people feel empowered and prepared with our help, not just through their own diligence. But yeah, you can't be there too much, especially not just being there,
Right.
versus being there and asking a lot of questions and interrupting rehearsal. Like, that's all different, and I don't think you do that. So
We'll have more with Kim right after this.
We're back with Kim Fukawa.
And now it's time for the breakdown.
All right, so the breakdown is where we ask a question and we break it down. And so what we're curious about is like, what's been your best dressing room environment? Right? Like, were you by yourself, or were you with a group, or like, what was that experience that stood out in the room, in the world of dressing rooms?
Yeah, and for example, we had Joe Lino on our third episode, and he described how when he was understudying This Is Our Youth at Steppenwolf, how he was playing Nintendo with Kieran Culkin and Michael Cera. So like that's like a crazy good one, but like so we've heard, yeah, right. Well, we've heard a lot about Steppenwolf and Goodman, but like I don't know, what's your favorite that you've experienced?
I mean, doing some of the babe shows, because you see a lot of the same people there a lot. Like, there's a certain camaraderie that comes from that, where you know each other, you know how to get along with these people, and then suddenly there's dances at certain parts of the show. There's just shenanigans happening backstage during certain parts of the show that become just your ritual. That's always a good time. I think it was in Julius Caesar, where there was very specific dancing pre-show we had to do. It was very important. You can't have a good show without the dancing.
Was
Although
there a particular jam that you guys were?
I don't remember anymore. I just remember the basic dancing and just sort of jamming out, and then knowing that I had to go out on stage first and introduce the show, which I almost messed up once. because I went out and I was like, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out to Babes with Blaze production of Mac. I started to say Macbeth, and I caught myself. I don't know where my brain was, and an audience member went, "Oh!" And I was like, "I didn't say it. I didn't say the whole thing." The production of Julius Caesar.
Oh,
That's
no.
what we're doing tonight. Sorry. Let's recover from that now. Okay.
That's awesome.
But I think it's probably the silliest and funniest dressing rooms have been my Babes with Blades ones.
Yeah.
Just
Scott,
because
do you
we
have-
know each other.
Yeah.
Right. Are you still with them? Like, are you?
Oh yeah, I have a
Yeah.
callback this weekend.
Nice. I've auditioned for them only once. I think I got a callback, but I clearly wasn't cast, and I was very sad.
Oh, can always try again.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? They didn't catch me that one time. Just forget it.
I'm just gonna give up.
Yeah, that's the right attitude for
But,
an actor.
You know, it was during a stretch of a lot of not cast. Like I was getting a ton of callbacks and not being cast, and so that was within that. And I made a post about it, and the director, who I'm friends with on Facebook, like gave me some information about how I was feeling. But I was just like, this is like 7 auditions in a row, and I've been cast. No, it was 6 in a row, and then my 7th one I booked. The 7th one was principal, which ended up having like 2 runs. It was kind of ended up a fancy big deal. So
Nice.
Well then.
whatever. This isn't about me and my audition woes and one day. Oh, but you know what? I did do a reading. I did twice. I did Rust on Bone and the reading series that Babes used to host. I don't
Fighting
know if it's
Words.
still- Fighting Words. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So I've worked with Babes. Okay.
Okay.
Scott, cut all of this out. You may cut all of this out. That is coming out of my face. And I'd like to ask you, Scott, do you have a dressing room story that was awesome? Awesome dressing room story.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is different. I guess, right? Yeah. And my favorite, I guess, my favorites are the ones that were like big casts. Were really fun. And you know, the funny thing is, one that I really loved was Hey Dancin' Hey Musical. We performed at that was the Factory Theater, but we were at Prop Theater over on Elston, and the backstage at the Prop Theater, at least in 2014, is like you go out the back door outside, and then you have to go up these stairs to get to the apartment that's above the theater, which sometimes has somebody living there. You never know. But I mean, we had like 15 people in that cast, so like there was never a dull moment there. I think the opposite for me of that would be for Here Lies Henry, which was a solo show. So I had the dressing room to myself, which was it was nice to be able to just kind of set the tone for myself, and nobody else could really mess with that tone. And I was always listening to my playlist of like diva tracks from the 90s, and that was really nice in terms of just getting in the zone and getting prepared. I would usually like run as many lines as possible before the show, just to kind of get me in that mindset. When I first proposed this question, I think I was thinking more like what amenities were the best.
Oh, that's
And, like,
different. Not the vibe.
Yeah,
The
and not
actual
even thinking about the
physical
people
location.
that's the people that are most important, really, to making the
Clearly not. You know, but interestingly, is that's what I thought you meant initially, but then you have the additional were you alone, were you with a special group, so then that took the amenity portion out for me.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, Kim, do you have an
actual
amenity
physical
ladder?
amenities.
Yeah.
Trying to think of all of the backstage places I've been. Probably the nicest backstage may have been when we were at Theater Wit. Just because you have kind of that upper level where you can hang out, and there's like a fridge and microwave there if you get there early and you want to eat something, and you can kind of hang out up there and see the people down below and milling around in the lobby and kind of spy on them if you want to. And then you can just go back down into the backstage.
I must have been in the wrong dressing room when I did a show at Theater Wit, because we were in the like far rear one on the right, and so that backstage was really tiny. That was another show with like 22 people in it.
Sure.
That was when we remounted The Most to Do at Theater Wit, Nothing Special, and but yeah, no, we didn't have any access to the upstairs.
Yeah, we did. Ours was the back one on the left, and there's that backstage, but then there's a little
spiral
little stair up,
Nice.
and you can crawl up there into a different dressing room and then go out.
And what's funny is I've not done a show that required me to use backstage there, but I've been in that space many times. Don't ask me why. I mean, because I don't know, not because it's a secret. Like, I don't know. Like, one time I know I had to do a curtain speech for a show, but before that, I was very familiar with that space, and I never used it as an actor, but I've been in that space a bunch. That's funny.
It's a good space.
I don't have any amenity-rich backstage experience aside from like people bringing food, like that the homemade stuff. That was always good in various spaces. I mean, pretty much the basics. Sometimes, though, there was no bathroom backstage, so that's always nice when it's actually backstage. And like at the Chopin, there's a bathroom inside the dressing room. That's fun, but the dressing room is very small. But there's a bathroom in there.
Yeah,
So,
I did a show at the Chopin, and it was Poseidon with Helen Handbag, and we had like another show with like 20 people in the cast, and there's enough space in that backstage for 20 people, but it can get a little cramped. But I was always the first one off stage after Act 1 to pee. Like, I was like, I need to be the first one. I need to get in there and do my business.
Well, congrats. I hope
Thank
they
you.
let you do
Yeah,
that.
it worked out pretty well.
Oh, so funny. What's next? I don't know where we are.
Do you feel like we're done with this?
I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. Like you turned into amenities, and we were like, oh yeah. But my best dressing room, based on the people, that I remember anyway. I mean, the best is weird, but like where I had the most like actual fun was with Breath Boom. I was the oldest. Which is so hard to come to grips with sometimes. So everyone else younger, majority women of color, and just listening to them. Like, I mean, I would participate. I wasn't just like, I'm the old person listening. But a lot of times it seemed like that's where I was like, I had a lower key energy. And my role was pretty intense too. And she aged over like 20, 30 years or something. So there were some things I needed to focus on. But just the energy of the young women, it was really kind of invigorating. And the kinds of conversations. And it was split. Like, it's still all in the same space, but it's like half season. There's a doorway. It was at Eclipse. Did I say that? So, yeah. So, but just being in their presence and listening to them talk. And then also, witnessing what they did on stage and comparing it to what was going on in the dressing room. Like, it was a lot of fun for me. That's a lot of fun. There weren't a lot of amenities.
Yeah. Are there any particular backstage areas that have been like, what, like, how can I even be here?
Yeah.
I can actually start with that because let me just ask questions. I'll answer them myself for the rest.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Doing I did 2 shows at the Heartland Theater, which I don't think is there anymore, in Rogers Park, and that backstage is like a table, like, and like maybe like 6 by 3 feet, and we had like, for The Alchemist we had like 11 people in the cast, and then for Nightmare in Paradise we had like 11 people in the cast. So like that was just a lot of like, do your thing in the mirror and then go hang out in the alley because it's the only place where you can breathe.
Oh man.
Yeah. What about y'all?
So you ever been to Rutan Collective?
Do y'all have a space? Or they have a space?
It was in Ravenswood in one of those like art space buildings. So like you go into that room, it's like the tiniest black box room.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no kind of backstage per se. Like we had a curtain where we had our clothes and you could change back there, and there's like a bathroom in there, but then once people started coming in, we would just have to go out and sit in the stairway until it was time for the show because there's nowhere to hang out. Just nothing there. It was the fact that we had a fight show in that space was still wild to me.
Yes. I think, is it like beside the tracks? Like it is like,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've been in that space for different reasons. I never actually like performed there, but I know what you're talking about. There've been a number. My thing about any backstage / dressing room area is the bathrooms, right? So like I have a number of experiences where like I have a cleaning kit that I carry with me in case I have to clean the bathroom because I'm gonna clean it. And so there've been a number of like, so like a smaller, I'll take a clean bathroom associated with a small space any day, right? Like I can manage, but like if I gotta go to a dirty, gross, unkept, unclean, nobody cares about this bathroom, like night after night, like I'm not doing it. So I just resolved to clean it. I can't just clean it. If I'm unsure, it's by my back door, like in my home where I live now. Like, so like, and I haven't had this experience in a while, but I'm going to prepare until I know, that I don't need this stuff. I cannot bear it. And it's so like, it's one thing when the space doesn't have restrooms that are specifically for the actors. Like that's annoying too, and I don't mind interacting with the audience. I'm not a person who's like trying to make them think I'm not a real person. That's not so bad. I prefer to have one that's just for us or whatever, but that's not so bad. But if the one we are meant to use, and then especially if it's also the one for the public, like I'm just like I take real issue with the lack of concern about clean restrooms, and so that's awful. I don't like it, and I wish that no one liked it and took care of it. A dirty bathroom can ruin my entire day. So even if I just went in there for like 5 seconds. It's like pisses me off so bad. Yeah,
I feel like you might not have liked the bathroom in the prop theater space.
Oh,
I've been there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. I wish I was in there after you because it would have been cool.
Yeah. Okay. So then. Next up is props.
All right, and in props, we like to give shouts out to actors who either we have understudied or actors who have understudied us, or stage managers or assistant directors or anybody who really helps us to do our job as understudies. So, Kim, who do you got for us?
I mean, for me, a good stage manager is worth their weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
They are so important, and I've had some really good ones. Brian DeGrange from United Flight 232, of course. That's a huge undertaking. Becky Bishop was our stage manager at for Neverwhere at Lifeline. That was a whole thing. Not only did we have an understudy, we had another level of understudy for that understudy who had to come in an emergency. So that was a whole thing. I can tell that story if you want me to.
Yeah, you piqued our interest now.
So for Lifeline, I was understudying Hunter, and I was going to go on. And then this one weekend was the weekend that our understudy had blackout dates. He could not be there, and that was known at the beginning of the whole thing. And this weekend's coming up, and the regular actor got asked to emergency understudy something, I think at the Goodman? And everyone was like, well, you have to go. We don't have an understudy. The understudy is unavailable. Who can we find? And actually, this should be a prop for Scott Merchant, who got called in last second to play Richard Mayhew in Neverwhere, which is, just the main character. He had to have that Scottish accent in place as well. He came in with a book basically strapped to his arm. He had stapled some elastic onto a cloth binder so he could put it on his arm, and he could still climb up things or go upstairs and use his hands but still have the script with him. And he did the performances that weekend with this script on his arm.
Oh my god.
With very little, we had to put in, and we put him in there, and I didn't know him beforehand, but I was like, how tall is he? Because I have to kick him in the face. And my leg only goes so high. And he came in, I was like, oh, thank God. I can kick you fine. But, props to him. He did the show. Nothing broke. He almost broke himself, but he was fine. He almost he stepped into a little gap between the upper level and the wall as he was exiting at the very last moment of the play. But he made it out. He was okay. And yeah, that was a heck of a thing for him to do.
Oh my.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. Who are my other amazing stage managers? Funny enough, one stage manager I've worked with before with Babes, Lindsay Miller, was my stage manager in high school. We went to high school together. We got out. I had not made any kind of contact with her in ages, and suddenly we're in the show. I'm in the show, and it's like, oh, you're still doing it. You're the stage, and she's, she knows her business. She's good.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's the Lindsay Miller I went to college with at ISU too. So that's
she's great.
Lovely. Yeah,
Love her.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Cool.
But anytime a stage manager is on top of their business, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I can't think of any truly bad stage managers that I've had.
I could, but
I have one or two, but we're not going to talk about
yeah,
that.
I ain't gonna drop those names.
Not for the public consumption.
But there's one that I see too often, and every time I see that person, my rage resurfaces. It's so awful. It's just
yeah.
I'm just like, I wish I didn't ever see you again for the rest of my entire life.
Oh no.
And it's one of those things how do you keep getting work? How is this a thing? How does nobody know?
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's rude. But good for you, Scott. You don't have those experiences.
Yeah, it must be nice.
It's been pretty
That's
good.
awesome.
I'm sure there's somebody that I've blocked out of my memory completely. But
Maybe. I mean, that's probably best. I would have liked to block this person out, but I keep seeing them.
Haunting you.
Seriously. I
feel like our transitions are not great tonight.
Oh, I think they're completely on point.
I feel like you're lying.
Where are we going into now?
Are you working on anything now? Wait, when does this go out? Late May or April, May? Anything you want to tell the people about?
Well, we'll see if I get this call back or not. Then I'll have something going into maybe rehearsal.
Check out Babe from Blaze in a couple months and see if Kim's in the show.
Just knock on wood. We'll see if I'm in it or if I'm understudying or what. Because I did say I might consider it.
You check the box.
They need me. We'll see.
We're gonna see
What it's gonna be. And then hopefully, at some point, there will be a radio play released that I did with some friends. It was a whole undertaking, but it's a horror radio play based on the first arc of a D&D campaign a friend of mine ran. So he got together a bunch of the people who were in the campaign and some other friends and wrote, I think it's 13 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
And we recorded them over the pandemic, and now they're being edited. So someday that will come out. It's called Something Wicked, and we'll see where that goes.
Do I know the person doing this?
I don't know that you do. His name is Josh Brewer.
Okay, no. It sounds like something Carlos would do.
He's great. He's a great playwright as well. And a wonderful DM, and his mind is so diabolical. It was a very stressful campaign. It was very good.
For that, I'm just curious. Did you say that you did the whole campaign and then he went back and wrote the episodes?
Yes, we did the whole campaign. We've actually done, I think by the time that he was putting it into a radio play, we had done 2 or 3 arcs of this overall campaign that he was running for us. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I think I want to turn this into a radio play. Would some of you be interested in writing for it? And so got together some folks and paid for it out of his own pocket. I get to play my own original character that I played for the campaign, which is wild.
Awesome.
So that will be coming out eventually.
That's awesome. That. Scott, you got anything to share?
I just have a story. So I auditioned for a thing recently, and I was really excited about it. It was like a 5-minute audition for a play, and I recorded it. I had my friend read with me, and I sent it in, and I didn't hear anything back, and I was a little like, what's up with this? Because I know the casting director on this. Like, why isn't he getting back to me? So finally, like 3 weeks later, I should have done it sooner, but yeah, I'm avoidant. 3 weeks later, I send an email just saying like, hey, did you guys receive my audition? Like, because I think I'm really good for this part and I'd really like to do it. And they tell me that it ended up in their spam folder. And I was just like, I spent so much time on this. This is horrible.
God.
Yeah. And so like he said, they'll be looking for covers and understudies in the next few weeks, which perfect. But yeah, I was just like, that was a little disheartening. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna pick back up. Like, but they watched it, and then, but
yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, my therapist did say, that you never know, and in some magical way, maybe something will come of it. But yeah, that's been my fun with auditioning lately. Yeah, it's tough with all these self-tapes because you send them in and you don't really know if anybody saw them or if they liked them or if they hated them or or what.
Yeah.
You don't have the experience of being in the room with them to be able to be like, I think they were laughing. I think they liked me.
Yeah.
That's my big
I
fun
got-
story.
I
lately.
got real burnt out, so I haven't been auditioning lately.
It happens.
The last self-tape I sent in was pre-pandemic.
Oof.
I just haven't. I've been like so good on not. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
been
you're
fun.
offer only anyway.
What?
Offer only?
Oh, I mean,
Not really.
incidentally, I didn't do that on purpose.
It's so hard right now because of the pandemic, because you're putting in, if you get into something, you're putting in this work, never knowing if it's suddenly going to be shut down completely.
Ugh,
And then
yeah.
all of that is gone.
Yeah.
And so it's like the regular anxiety of doing the show, but also that unknown hanging over your head the entire time. It's so hard.
It sucks. We actually, the next thing I was supposed to direct, we actually went ahead and postponed it. It wasn't even supposed to be till late spring. We were like, you know what? Let's just knock that off. Boop, next season. So for that reason, like, we don't know. I don't want to be all up in the unknowns and bringing people on board, contracting people and then having to pay them because we, even though we couldn't do it, like, just felt like we don't have to do that right now.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, Babes has just postponed one of their shows. Oh, we were supposed to be doing this show called Plaid as Hell that got postponed before the pandemic, and then we're going to put it up. It was supposed to go up, I think, beginning of February or end of January-ish, and then we're like, not a good time. Put it in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm advising on a high school production right now of Puffs. It's a parody of Harry Potter, told from the perspective of Hufflepuffs. And we just, like 2 days ago, got notice that we can perform without masks, and that we can also start rehearsing without masks. And we were like, okay, guys, here's the deal. We are going mask optional now, but it's so important that you don't get COVID. Like, just don't get COVID, whatever you do, or else the show's kind of over, It's tough. So hopefully, cross fingers, knock on wood, that we'll be able to perform that.
Yep. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Kim, we tend to end with, is there any advice that you would give your younger self or to somebody who's just starting in the business, either as an understudy or otherwise as an actor?
That's a lot to put on. Basically, how to say something that doesn't sound completely trite or like completely like believe in yourself. But actually, watch your ego. Stay present, stay listening, and just, trust your instincts. And don't take those jobs where you're not 100% like, maybe I should take it, maybe I shouldn't. Take the stuff that you're excited about, because it's gonna be a slog otherwise.
Yes.
It ain't worth it.
Good advice.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
All right. Thank you so much, Kim. This has been an awesome interview. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm glad I wasn't a total dud.
Honestly, no one was concerned about you being a dud. I'm really grateful that you joined us.
Well, I was very excited to be asked. Yay, we did it.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Kim Fukawa, and that it gives deeper insight into the art of understudying.
If you have a suggestion of someone we should interview or a question for us, send us an email at understudypodcast@gmail.com.
Or hit us up at understudypod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
We want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers, especially Marcella Huff and Stanley Sava and Andrew Sava.
If you want to support the show, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/understudypod.
Our theme song and all other music are by Laura McKenzie.
Our episodes are edited by me and produced by myself and Alana.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, please hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice and tell your friends.
And if you hated it, tell your enemies.
And the parents.
And their stupid parents.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Out of control.
Totally. Always.